The early man led a nomadic life. Their needs in the primitive times were few, but now time has been changed. The method of livelihood to earn a living is called occupation. Human beings need money to fulfill their need and to live a dignified life. To earn money, they have to work. The work they do to earn money is called their occupation. There are numerous occupations in the world that people pursue. These occupations divided into three sectors. And what we have to do? We have to discuss about sectors. There are three types of sector, that is primary sector, secondary sector and tertiary sector. Primary sector also called primary occupation, secondary sectors also called secondary occupation, and similarly tertiary sector also called tertiary occupations. Now let us discuss about primary sector first. Primary sector are also called agriculture sector. So we have to remember that primary sector has another name called agriculture sector. It refers to extraction and production of natural resources. Extraction and production of natural resources from the environment. We can also say that primary sector is directly related to natural resources. Agriculture, cattle farming, fishing, dairy farming, animal rearing, mining are examples of primary sector. Now let us discuss about secondary sector. This sector is also called industrial sector. It refers to processing of the primary products to make them more useful. All manufacturing activities are part of secondary sector. Secondary sector involves the conversion of raw materials into usable goods. There are some examples here, that is conversion of wheat into flour. Here wheat is a primary sector product and flour is the secondary sector product. Similarly, cotton into cotton textile. Cotton is a primary sector product and cotton is the secondary sector product. In both of these examples, there is going conversion from primary sector to secondary sector. Now let us discuss about tertiary sector. This sector is also called service sector. So the another name of tertiary sector is service sector. It refers to providing services to society, and it is very important sector when you talk about. When you meet the doctor, then doctor provide us services, so it is called tertiary sector. Similarly, engineers, teachers, airways employee, railways employee, postal services, so all of these provide us services, so it comes in tertiary sector. Each of these occupation is interdependent. For example, a farmer produces food which is required to those engaged in secondary occupation, who in turn provide finished product to those engaged in tertiary occupations. Persons engaged in tertiary occupations help in distributing the finished product to those engaged in primary sector and secondary sector. Now let us talk about the share. So sectors share toward GDP. GDP is an acronym of gross domestic product. It is a parameter, it shows parameter to know about the development of our country. So the primary sector has 12% in our GDP and the secondary sectors contributes 28% in our GDP. Now tertiary sector contributes 60%, and it is a huge percentage than primary sector and secondary sector. So tertiary sector has 60% contribution in our GDP. Now let us talk about the sector share by working force. 51% of total population working in primary sector, 22% of working population working in secondary sector, and 27% of total population working in tertiary sector. So in primary sector there is 51% of people working over here, and thereafter tertiary sector 27% of people working here, and at last secondary sector there are only 22% of total population working in secondary sector.